The Organization for the Economic Cooperation and the Development has said that there has been a sharp growth in the investor's mind, the mentality of the investors that used of environmental, social and the government's approaches. The report of Organization of Economic Cooperation and the Development that suggests that these changes in the field of environmental, social and the governance field is very much that investing and the climate transition may be the reason, the cause of these changes that brings to this investor's mind is the climate transition and that the effect the environment is facing currently and that the drawbacks and the situation that has arrived in this current market strategy, the practices, issues and those policies for the considerations and this investing procedure in this field as environmental, social and the governance that become a leading form of sustainable finance, that finance that create those long-term value, the long-term effect of this financing and that the alignment with societal values, and these societal values can make those things very much possible in the right direction, the right way, and that mitigate those adverse effect of these changes, those factors that can change the direction, the course of this investor's mind. And the one big change is the movement toward the global standard and the expectations. And the climate change or the taxation scheme, everything can changing. The wave is changing, of course, and that has made the pandemic a global companies change the way they conduct the businesses, how they treat those businesses, how they run those businesses in this global pandemic situation, and that increasingly the companies, private and public, they are looking at a broader set of metrics and stakeholders, and that was starting business, run those businesses, and that was the important role of a business, the mindset that is the important, and they create those extraordinary profit, and everything else will take care of itself, and that is a changing life cycle and changing pattern of those businesses, that is the post-pandemic effect, and those era that post-pandemic is we are entering now. And the business leaders need to take those issues as a client and the people and many communities they are lived, they are working. The increase in digitalization that can impact it, the way we live, we operate in the business entities, in a business world, and that the big change and the movement towards those issues that are discussed as the environmental, social and the governance, that the standard, that moving towards a consistent set of measurement, and that is happening on the taxation regulation, the way we that never going to back those pre-COVID periods, and that's the changing that include the companies relooking at the supply chain, mitigating those risks that is involved during this tough time. This is important, and that the building those redundancy in the businesses that are change that going to stay long, that going to persist for a long time, and that's the consequences of the post-COVID era, the post-COVID situation, and the mentality of the business people. They are working towards businesses that run, how they are approaches. And the COVID, we all know that the lesson the countries and businesses are taken from this, the recent pandemic, that in fact everybody, there is no distinguish between the India, US, Europe, Australia, any nation. It's in fact everybody, and the response that require is global. That disappointing that we haven't seen those coordinated global response, and that this under-investment in the primary healthcare, and that is evident in India also, that the US too. The third lesson, that is globalization. I hope that learn a lot of lessons from this pandemic, and that's first that the viruses, those don't distinguish between those Indians, European or American. There are required those global responses, and the pandemic has brought the rapid digitalization in possible. It is actionable, and there has been a more digitalization in the last 2 years than in the 10 years prior to that. That is the power of digitalization, that is the applicability of digitalization, utility of this digital ecosystem. India is very much approaching towards the building those ecosystem of digital transaction, digital payment system, and those digital entity that enable the conduct of businesses, that will change the way we work, consume, live, and that the protocol that individual is working, and that is a mitigation and redressal, not only for but also from the standpoint of the protecting, that we need to be protected as a conservative mindset, that way we lived in this digital world to compete with this digital world, and that's how this recent pandemic tends to force us to move towards this digital environment and boosting those digital economy that we are working towards. And that's incredible how is India's growth story, especially after this pandemic, that this pandemic has impacted the entire world, and that's a fundamentally change the way we lived and we do those businesses. But India's fundamentals are very strong enough, as India is one of the most attractive destination for the foreign direct investment, and that is possible for the startup industry to booming. The startup campaign that government of India is launching and they are promoting massively in the last 5-6 years, and that will be a future for India's economic growth, the journey of economy in the next 5 to 10 years, and that is possible for the digital platform, the digital environment, and the FDI is based on those digital infrastructure that is working across the nation, across India, and that is how we are looking for there is a gap, and that is a misconception, the perception rather, that is it is difficult to do the businesses in this India, that there is no much infrastructure is available, or there is so much of procedure, so much of hazard, so much of steps that is required to fulfill, that is required to maintain and open a business, but it's very much become easier for the digital infrastructure has come, and that the advantage of digital infrastructure to make those businesses run, to open, and those are formalities, the procedure has become very easy, and that is the most positive way, that ease of doing business. India has seen those tremendous rank jump in a positive way. India has jumped to almost 60 in the couple of years, almost 2-3 years, and that the aim for India to under 30 in the next couple of years. That is the advantage of digital infrastructure and this platform that make those businesses very much smooth, very easy, and business friendly nation, that most of the countries in South Asian nation like Singapore, Japan, South Korea are working towards that, and India is gradually achieving this targeted, and that's how it will help India's economy. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.